Hello, good morning, everyone, and happy Monday to you all. Quickly, let's confirm you can see my screen and you can hear my voice by typing hi in the comment section so that we can get the session started. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Are we good to go? Oh, great. Thank you, Carrie. Good morning. All right, 828, good morning to you. All right, okay. So I want to welcome you all to yet another promising session of Extreme Speed Live, hosted by myself, Sharif Daramola. And as usual, I will be taking you on a trading journey in the next 1 hour, where we shall be evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities that is likely lining up for us during the New York session today. And most importantly, it is worthy that we mention the fact that today is the first day of the week and also the week that leads to the end of the second quarter of this year. So there's going to be quite a lot of activities coming up this week, so we want to get ourselves prepared in that regard. If you have any pair you want us to look at, feel free to drop it in the comment section and let's dive into the chart. So right now, we shall be going into the US oil, and let's see what is happening on the US oil. Well, as you know, on Monday mornings like this, we take random pairs, which we look at and see if we're going to be having opportunities, after which we are going to be doing follow-up details the following day. So today I have pulled out the US oil, the US tech, I think the XAU USD, the gold that is, and then USD CHF and CHF Jpy for this week. However, as time goes by, if we see opportunities in other pairs, we shall be look at it obviously. So now let's go to the US oil and let's see what is happening here on the US oil. So on the US oil, we have the US oil right now, and what do we have here? Well, before I go, let's scale up to the daily time frame and let's see what is happening on the higher time frame. Let's have an holistic view of what the market is currently saying. Well, if we look at the higher time frame here, that is the daily time frame. Well, it is obvious that price action has been trending on a bullish momentum. As you can see, after connecting the series of higher lows here, we were able to identify this bullish trend line after connecting the series of higher lows at this point. However, something interesting happened during the later part of the month of August, stroke the early days of the month of September here, which I will be showing you. Let's zoom in. Let's zoom into the current structure. So we saw here in the month of August, stroke the early days of the month of September, we saw the breakdown of that bullish trend line. After which a retest of that structure sent price crashing to the downside here. So obviously, when price breaks down a structure like this, that is the bullish trend line broken to the downside like this, we expect that the retest of structure is going to be sending price going to the downside, and that is what has been happening in the last couple of weeks here. Scaling down to the 4 hours time frame, well, on the 4 hours time frame, there is something here that makes our structure easier to decipher here. So if we scale down to the 4 hours time frame, well, the first thing we observed is that during the course of last week's trading session, we saw how the demand zone had $83 level has been holding price action supported for quite a while before we finally saw the breakdown of that demand zone during the later part of last week's trading session to give us a bearish signal. Now, in addition to this, we should also take into consideration the $86.57 level here. As we can see, during the course of last week's trading session, we saw multiple rejection at this point by the sellers to push price to the downside. As you can see, every attempt by the buyers to push price above the $86.50 level was met with stiff resistance by the sellers to push price to the downside, giving us a clue into the strength of the sellers at this point in the market. So right now that we have the breakdown of that structure here, what is going to be our expectation for this week? Well, from a technical standpoint, whenever we cite a breakdown of structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back, give us a retest of structure, give us a second chance to join the decline, where we're going to be looking out for multiple rejection of this level or probably a reversal pattern that will be send price going to the downside. So going into the new week right now, this is the structure we want to be working with. We had a consolidation phase here last week where price was caught within an indecision before the breakdown of that structure happened. And for me at this point, I want to be seeing this breakdown as a bearish signal, and the onus right now is to see how we could take advantage of this bearish momentum. Is price going to come back right up before that bearish momentum continues? That is one scenario. Or is the bearish momentum just going to continue right from the downside like this? As another scenario we want to be looking at. So to have a better perspective into this, we want to see how participants in this market actually started the week with. So we want to see how they started the week, and let's see what we can use, what information we can gather from the pattern that evolved at the beginning of this week. So scaling down to the 1 hour time frame, this is what we want to be using as our what will I call it here, premise for an opportunity to join a downtrend scenario. So like I said, on the higher time frame, are we going to be seeing price come back up here before they move to the downside, or is their bearish momentum just going to continue right below this $79 level to the downside? So now if we look at what happened this week, we saw price started this week at around the $79 level. It went to as high as the $80 level area before we saw this impulsive move to the downside here, breaking down where it started the week at the $79 level, breaking down that level and pushing right back into this level. So now we've seen multiple rejection of this area. We saw the first touch, second touch, third touch, and we don't know how this candle is going to close right now, as this candle is about 13 minutes hold at this point. So we'll still have around 47 minutes for this candle to close. So with the current structure we have here, what I want to be doing now is to identify the structure we have here. So what we do now is to bring out our line charts. So let's have a key level that will be guiding our action going forward. So bringing out our line chart here, I have the structure right around the, let's see, $78. I think it looks more like the $79 area, which is right above this point. So should we use the $79 area as our, so let's use $79. So we have $79 area, $79 level, which is going to be our yardstick for this week. Let's delete this. So let's go back to our candle chart and let's see what we have here. So as you can see, we saw that price broke down this level last week, the $79 level. Price came back here, started the week at the $79 area, went to as high as the $80 level, and what we saw afterwards during the early hours of today was a breakdown of the $79 area, breaking down the previous low at the 78 area, and price went to the downside from here. And what did we see in the last 3 to 4 hours? Now price came back to do a rejection of the $79 area, after which we shall be looking for a selling momentum from this point in the market. So now that we've identified the scenario, what this tells us that with the current structure we have here on the 1 hour time frame, we want to be looking for selling opportunities as long as price continue to oscillate right above right below the $79 level. So below the $79 level is most appropriate to be selling the US oil at this point. And if at any point in time we see a break above of this level, we want to be patient enough to see how price is going to react to that level. Is it going to be sending price to the upside, or is it going back into the $79 level where it retested this week before that move to the downside? So right now we look at below the $79 level has an area to look for selling opportunities. But like I said, if price breaks above, we want to be patient to see how price will relate with the zone. So this is what we want to be looking forward to today. So if you are joined this move at this point, that is after citing this multiple rejection, kudos to you for being that. So what I'll be saying here is remove your stop loss to break even at this point to protect your position against any sudden pullback that is likely going to be happening. However, if you are yet to join this trade, well, let's look at somewhere below the previous low as an entry point here. So we have somewhere around the $78. So we had the previous low here. So we had the $78 area as an area to be looking for selling opportunities. So right below this level seems most appropriate to be selling the US oil. And as soon as price moves in our direction, we want to be locking our profit by moving our stop loss to break even to protect our position size here. So this is how we intend to trade the US oil for this week. So we have a sell entry right below that level. And then where will our take profit target be at this point? Since we've identified this area, where will our take profit target be? Well, let's scale up to the higher time frame and let's see things from an holistic perspective before making that decision. So right now, if we look at the 4 hours time frame here and we zoom to as far as the month of June, we saw this bearish trend line. After connecting the series of lower highs here, we saw this connecting the series of lower highs. We had this resultant bearish trend line which was broken for a while in the month of August, and then we saw price retest that level a couple of times in the during this month. So this bearish trend line is more or less an important line that we want to be using as our yardstick for our take profit target. So let's go back to the 1 hour time frame. So I want to be looking at my take profit target around that bearish trend line. In the meantime, we don't want to be too ambitious here, so we have our take profit target right around that trend line, which is, let's say, somewhere around the $75 area, between the $75.50 and the $74 area, which will be dovetailing to about 300 pips. So what we want to be doing, why we're having our take profit target here, is simply because we want to see how price is going to relate to this level. How we're going to be seeing a rejection of this level that will be pushing price to the upside. That is one scenario. We don't know how price is going to relate to this level, or are we going to be having a breakdown of that structure where a retest of structure will give us another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade here. So let's see what happens in the next 24 hours here, and if price continue like that, please note that we want to be locking our profit as price continue to move in our favor. So that is that on the US oil. If you have any questions regarding what I've just discussed so far, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section and I will be willing to be of help in that regard. So I'll be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the charts and see if there are any questions before we move on to the next pair. So okay, Scott Benji is around. Good morning to you. 539, hi, good morning. Trust you had a wonderful weekend. Okay, good morning. 11186N. All right. Okay, there are quite a lot of people in the house this morning. I trust we all had a wonderful weekend. All right. Okay, Fat 12, good morning. And we have our service rep in the house too as well. If you have any inquiries or any issues you want to resolve on your platform, you can drop it in as our. Okay, Innocent Babe, good morning. How are you doing today? It's been a while since I saw you. Trust you're doing well. So you want us to do gold. Okay, I think I have gold on my radar for this week, so definitely we are going to be treating the gold. So I will implore you to be on standby through the session so that you don't miss out on the ideas we want to be sharing. Well, I'm doing fine, Babe. Thank you, and trust you're doing well. Hello, have a great trading day to all of you. Okay, thank you, Justin. So, in the absence of no questions, let's quickly move on to the next pair. Let's look at the US tech, after which we move on to the gold. So, I like to do the commodities and the options first before we go. So, on the US tech, what do we have here? So let's scale up to the daily time frame and let's say things from an holistic standpoint before we start making a decision here. So on the daily time frame, obviously it's on a bearish momentum, as we can see, and after connecting the series of higher lower highs here, we were able to have this bearish trend line that has been guiding price action since the beginning of the year, and as a result of this, the bearish momentum seems more evident. However, if we look at the structure here, we can see that as soon as price got into the $11,000 area, that is in the month of June, we saw a rejection of this area by the buyers to push price to the upside. So we have the first attempt by the buyers here. Hold on a second. Where is my... Okay. So we have the first attempt by the buyers to push price to the upside here. And what do we have here right now? We saw that price is right within that area. So is there going to be a situation where we're going to see another rejection from this point, or is price going to break down that level to give us a signal of a trend continuation to the downside? So we have two scenarios we are looking forward to here. We have one scenario where price is likely going to respect that trend, that level, to push price to the upside, or we could be having the breakdown of that level to with a retest of structure to send price going to the downside. So we identify this level here. So what we want to be doing here is to identify this area as a major demand zone, which has been respected in the past. So what I would do now is to bring out my rectangular box. Let's identify this area as our buy zone, at least for this week, and let's see how price is going to relate to this level, after which we want to be making our decision based on the structures that price action evolves to within this area. So let's have this, our demand zone, labeled. So we have demand zone. I would like to give this a white color. Right. So we have our demand zone right here. Aha. So that is it now. So now we have this demand zone sitting right here. So let's scale down to the lower time frame and let's see how participants are actually related with this level to see if we are going to be going bearish or bullish. So let's go to the 4 hours time frame. So on the 4 hours time frame, what do we have here? Okay. So before we go into those details, let's see what happened here. We can see we had a demand zone last week around the 11,750 area, which was finally broken, which was broken during the later part of last week. We saw the breakdown of that structure here, and then price continued to find lower lows and lower highs. We saw another support level at the 11,450 area, which was also broken to send price going to the downside. So now, whenever we cite a breakdown of a major structure like the 11,750 area like this, we see a breakdown of structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back into the structure with the intention of a retest to be sending price to the downside. However, since the beginning of the week, we noticed that price has started the week at around the $11,320 area. Price came back down into the 11,180, and it appears price has been caught within a consolidation phase around here. So what this simply tells us is that there is an indecision in the market right now, as participants are yet to have an headway of where price might be going this week. So we have a channel here already. So what we are going to be doing at this point is to be waiting for a signal, which is likely going to come in the form of a breakout or a breakdown of that channel. But remember, we are on a demand zone on a higher time frame, which we've identified here with a rectangle. So let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame. Let's identify that channel and let's anticipate if a signal as we head into the new week. So right now we are on the 1 hour time frame. Let me adjust this a little so we can see what the structure is here. So we have a channel. Let me bring out my line chart. So we have a channel here. We have the first channel here. Let me give this a purple. So we have the support level of this channel here. Then we have the resistance level of this channel here. So we can see price is caught within the channel at this point. So we want to be waiting for a signal to happen before making a decision on this one. So we have price consolidate right between the $11,350 area and the $11,200 area. So what we want to be saying is either a breakdown of this channel to give us a signal. It could either be a breakdown of this channel to give us a signal where a retest to structure will be sending price to the downside. That is the first scenario we're looking at. And then the other scenario is if we are going to be seeing price break above this channel. So if we have a break above this channel, we want to wait for price to give us further confirmation in the form of a retest of structure on our lower time frame, after which we look out for patterns to join the rally to the upside. And it is important I mention here that if we have a breakout of this channel to the upside here, we want to be seeing this move as a potential retracement of the previous impulse leg here. So we had the impulsive move here. So we could be having this as a retracement phase of that impulse leg into the golden zone area, where we could be looking forward to a selling opportunity to the downside from that point. So if we are going to be buying this, then we wait for price to break out of the $11,350 area. Then a retest of structure will give us a confirmation of a trend continuation to the upside. And if that happens, where will our take profit target be? Well, to identify our take profit target, we want to take into consideration this impulsive move to the downside. And to do that, we'll bring out our Fibonacci retracement tool, run it through the previous impulse leg here. And what do we have? We should be aiming at somewhere around the 50 and the 78.6% of this level as our take profit target area. So we should be having somewhere between here and here has our take profit target. So we have TP target labeled here for buy position. That is one scenario. And then the other scenario is that this is also a sell window. If price comes within this area, it will definitely be a sell window. Okay, so let me give this a yellow. And let's delete this. So remember, we have a level at the 11,750 area here last week. So let's see how price plays out. Like I said, if we have a breakout of the structure, a retest will give us a confirmation to take advantage of this counter trend opportunity. So if price comes within this area, we have our take profit target right within the 11,620 and the 11,900 area, which will be dovetailing to a minimum of, let's say, 280 pips and a maximum of around 530 pips here. So let's see how price will play out here. So if price continues like that, we have our take profit there. And if price comes within this take profit target area, I will start seeing reversal pattern, probably a double top structure or a head and shoulder pattern. We want to be looking forward to selling opportunity at a breakdown retest of that structure to send price crashing to the downside. So this is how we intend to trade the US tech. So let's see how price action plays out in the next 24 hours. And definitely we shall be coming here tomorrow to do a follow-up detail on this one. If you have any questions so far, feel free to drop your comment, your inquiry in the comment section, and I'll be willing to be of help. So let's see, 425 wants to ask a question. Feel free to drop in your inquiry in the comment section. All right, 018, thank you. Okay, Archery 21, good morning to you. Okay, you're welcome, 330. All right, so let's move on to the next pair here. So let's quickly look at the XAUUSD and let's see what we have on the XAUUSD. Well, the XAUUSD are very, very bearish for a while now, and we want to do a top-down analysis here. Let's see what has been happening on the higher time frame. after which we are going to be using that structure to determine what we want to be looking forward to this week. So I want to go to the weekly time frame first, where I was able to identify a strong bullish trend line after connecting the series of lower highs in the last 5 years now, 5 to 6 years, right, thereabout. So we have a major bullish trend line, which is your dark line on your screen right now, and as you can see, price has respected that bullish trend line, that main one, since 2016. We had another one 2017. We had multiple rejection of that level in 2018, and we had another one in 2019. So we have the bullish trend line, and price is yet to come into that level in recent time. So that is the first bullish trend line where I was able to identify here, and the second one was the one that started in 2018. We saw I was able to connect the series of higher lows here to connect this temporary bullish trend line. As you can see on your screen, the green dotted line on your screen, and as you can see, what happened during the course of last week's trading session, we finally had a breakdown of that temporary bullish trend line. So now with the breakdown of that temporary bullish trend line, obviously that is more or less a bearish signal, but we are not going to be jumping into that conclusion at this point in time. But let's see from a technical standpoint, that is a bearish signal, right? And is price going to be doing a retest of that bullish trend line, since we already have a breakdown of that structure, to send price back into the major bullish trend line, which I showed you earlier, remember? So this is what I want to be looking forward to. So it's either price come back to do a retest of that bullish trend line to send price crashing to the downside, or there is a likelihood that price could probably break above that bullish trend line with the intention of a trend continuation to the upside, hereby turning this breakdown to a false one. So with that information, let's scale down to the daily time frame and let's see what is happening. So let's zoom into the structure here in the last couple of months now, and what do we have here? We can see since the month of July, we had somewhere around the $1,700 area, which has been holding price supported. Hence, I was able to identify this level as a demand zone. We can see as soon as price got into this level, seller participants in this market gathered here to buy the gold, and price came back again into that level in the month of September. Earlier on this month, we saw multiple rejection of that level with the intention that price might likely be pushing price to the upside, but that did not happen, as this was met with stiff resistance by the sellers. Here we have this bearish trend line, which we identified last week on this one after connecting the series of lower highs, which also was respected, thereby pushing price to break down that demand zone. So during the course in the last 2 weeks now, we saw the final breakdown of that demand zone to give us a clue into the strength of the sellers at this point in the market. So the breakdown of that demand zone here was so massive that it gave us a clue of the strength of the sellers here. So right now, what are we going to be looking forward to? Are we going to be seeing price come back into that key level here, which also lines up with that bearish trend line, the red dotted line on your screen, to give us a further trend continuation to the downside? This is what I want us to be looking at today. So now, in order to get this, in order to have a better perspective into this, we want to scale down to, let's see what's happening on the 4 hours time frame before we move on. Okay, so on the 4 hours time frame, this is what we have here. We had a demand zone last week at around the $1,660 level. We see how this level also was a demand zone. Actually, remember last week we were trying to make an attempt to buy the gold last week. We saw multiple rejection of this level, but it was met by stiff resistance from the sellers at the $1,680 level to push price to the downside. And finally, we had the breakdown of that demand zone one more time to give us another trend signal that the sellers are really strong in this market. So right now, as we have the scenario here and we have a breakdown of a structure like this, definitely we want to be patient enough for further confirmation before we want to be joining that decline. And this is likely going to be coming in the form of a retest of structure, that is price. We have price come into the $1,625 area. We're expecting that price is likely going to come back into the structure that was broken last week to give us a confirmation that price really wants to be going to the downside. So we're going to be looking out for reversal patterns or multiple rejection of this area on our lower time frame to be joining this decline. So on the XAUSD, they really need to be very patient, as we never can tell what could be happening from this point. So let's see what has been happening since the beginning of the week. Let's see how participants in this market have been played out here. So right now, since the beginning of the week, we saw our price started the week at around the $1,645 area. So price started here and went to as far as the $1,625. We saw price come back again. We saw this move, and it appears we have a higher low here, giving me a clue of a bullish momentum is likely coming in from this point. So right now, with this current structure we have here, if a bullish momentum comes in here, there are two things that could happen. It could be a retracement phase of this impulsive leg. It could be a retracement phase back into the structure, where we want to be looking for reversal patterns to join the decline. That is one scenario, and it could lead into the breakout of that structure here to send a bullish signal through the market. So now, going into the New York session today, how do we intend to trade this? Well, the first thing we want to be doing here is to identify a structure that will be guiding our action during the New York session today. So if we bring out our line chart here and then connect some points together, here we have this level that has been holding price supported for a while now. So we have, let me give this a blue color. So we have the, what area is this? Well, let's call it the $1,645 level. So if we label this area $1,645 level, then I want to be looking at a break above that level as a signal of a possible reversal pattern. As you can see, we had as soon as price got into this area, we had in fact, we had rejections here before this move. In the early hours of today, price came back immediately to the upside, and we've been having another multiple rejection of this 1,645 level. So if we have a breakout of that level during the New York session today, then what I want to be seeing is a retest to send price right back into the structure. So we have a structure at the $1,660 area, or this bearish trend line here. So for me, this one is going to be more or less like a counter trend. So what do I want to do here? Since we already have this breakdown of the demand zone, I want to be looking for selling opportunities here. So let's bring out our Fibonacci retracement to run it through the previous impulse leg here and aim at somewhere between the 50 and the 78.6% of this level of this impulse leg as our sell window. So I want to, so we have a sell window here. So we have a sell window right within the $1,655 area and the $1,673 area. So what I want to be seeing here is, if price comes within the sell window, I want to be looking for selling opportunities from this area. It could be a double top structure, a inverse head and shoulder pattern, whatever it is. A breakdown retest to structure on lower time frame will give us further confirmation to join the decline. And if we are joining the decline from this area, where will our take profit target be? Well, we want to take into consideration this impulsive move to the downside here. So what we're going to be doing is to project this impulse leg into the future using our Fibonacci extension tool, and then we aim at somewhere around the 127.2 and the 1414 area for our take profit target. So we have here, okay, we have between the 127.2 and the 1414 as our take profit target. So TP target here. So we have our TP target right within the $1,605 area, which will be dovetailing to, if price comes within our sell window here, it will be dovetailing to about 5,500 pips at least on this one. So that is the first scenario we are looking forward to. And so like I said, let me come again. If a break above of this happens, we expect that price is likely going to come back to do a retest of structure around the $1,660 area. But what we want to be looking for here is a reversal pattern. We want to see multiple rejection of that level by the sellers, or probably a pattern like a double top structure to join the decline from that point. And if you are a counter trend trader, you might want to take advantage of this move right here. But for me, it's not advisable as it's not safe considering the long-term bearish momentum we have here. But if you want to take that, a breakout retest of this $1,645 area should give us that confirmation. If you have it on lower time frame, we see multiple rejections again, we might join. But as soon as price moves in our direction, you move your stop loss to break even to protect your position. For me personally, it's not safe considering the long-term bearish momentum at this point. So if I were you, I will wait for price to come within the sell window here to take advantage of that selling opportunity. Now, what if price does not go that far? That is, price does not climb right above that level into the sell window. That is, price does not, what's happening here? Okay, if price does not climb above into the sell window here and price continue to go to the downside, we're just going to wait. Well, if we look at the structure we have here, we can see the lowest point price has got to this week is at around the $1,626 area, which is here. That's the lowest point price has gotten to this week. So if price breaks down that level, then I want to see that as a bearish signal already forming in. If we have the breakdown of that level, a retest of that structure, then you might want to be joining the decline. So if price does not climb above the $1,645 area, where I said we want to be waiting for selling opportunities right within this area, and price breaks down that level, then a retest of structure should give us a confirmation to join the decline here. So for me on the XAUUSD, I'm actually tending towards a bearish momentum considering the long-term bearish momentum. And in recent time, we saw the breakdown of that demand zone here at the $1,660 area, which is more or less a very significant level to reckon with. So this is what I want to be looking forward to on the XAUUSD. If you have any question regarding what I've just talked about so far, feel free to drop in your comment, or you need further clarifications. And I hope Innocent Babe is still around. Do you have any question, Innocent Babe? Okay, Patricio90, good morning. 773, good morning to you. Okay, let's see. 425, I'm here to see your question. All right, so let's move on to the next pair. I guess Innocent Babe is no longer in the house. So let's move on to the next pair here. So the next pair we are going to be looking at is the CHF Jpy. I want to be looking at the CHF Jpy. All right. Okay, Innocent Babe says you understand. All right, that's good. So let's move on. So we have the CHF Jpy on the chart right now, and remember last week we took advantage of this impulsive move to the downside. Where is it? We took this move right below this level. We took about 400 pips here last week, and let's see if we have another opportunity lining up for us this week. Is there going to be a second chance? Is there going to be a retracement phase back into our sell window for this week? Well, let's quickly look at what has been happening on the higher time frame, especially for those who were not part of the session last week. So right now we're on the daily time frame here, and obviously price has been on a very strong bullish momentum since the beginning of the year, and something very interesting happened during the month of June stroke the early days of this month. We saw here how sellers were actually rejecting that bullish momentum here. We saw attempts by the sellers to start pushing price to the downside from this point at the $1,444 area. We saw it multiple times between the month of June and the later part of the month of August. But something interesting happened during the early days of this month. We saw the significant breakout of that supply zone, giving us a clue of a bullish momentum. And as you can see, price climbed to as far as the 152 area here, which appears to be the highest point the CHF JPY has ever gotten into in the last how long is that? I think last 30 close to 40 years now. I think the last time was 1980, and that was the highest point the CHF JPY has ever gotten to. And last week we were expecting that since we have multiple rejection of this area before the beginning of last week trading session, we saw multiple rejection of this level, and we were saying this is likely going to be the beginning of a possible retracement phase back into the structure that was broken during the early days of this month. So we had the structure here at the $144 area. Let me extend this out so that we can see we had a structure here. So for me, I'm looking at this area as a demand zone, and let's see, temporary demand zone for now anyways. So this is what our expectations were last week, and we don't know if price is going to come back and do a retest of the neckline that was broken at the 148 Japanese yen area to send price crashing back into the bullish trend line that has been holding price action for quite a while now. So that is one scenario I'm looking forward to. So are we going to be seeing price come back into the sell window here to send price going to the downside, or are we going to be having an outright breakdown of this demand zone where a retest to structure will be sending price further to the demand zone that it was in the month of July/August? So let's scale down to the lower time frame, and let's go to the 4 hours time frame first, and let's see what structure we have here on the 4 hours time frame. So on the 4 hours time frame, like I said, we had a neckline at the 148 Japanese yen level, which was the neckline of the reversal pattern that was cited last week. We saw this rejection here. Price came to this level, and we saw a sharp rejection which led into an engulfing bearish move that went down into the demand zone at the 144 Japanese yen. And I want to see this impulsive move as the intervention of the Bank of Japan in the FX market to limit the diminishing value of the Japanese yen. I think the BOJ intervened during the later part of last week, which resulted in this impulsive move to the downside. And I want to be thinking that this move might likely continue to affect the Japanese yen more positively. So I was able to look at the sell window here as an area to look out for selling opportunities to join the decline. And how did we get that sell window? Obviously, we looked at we take into consideration this impulsive move here. We saw this impulsive move to the downside, which culminated at the 144 Japanese yen area. So what I did was to bring out my Fibonacci retracement tool and then run it through that impulse leg here to identify our golden zone area somewhere around the 50 and the 78.6% of that impulse leg, which falls around the 147.500 and the 150 Japanese yen area. So like I said, I want to see price come back, and if you look at the sell window here, it also lines up with the key level of that reversal pattern. So we have the key level of reversal pattern here, which was broken here last week. And from a technical standpoint like this, whenever we cite the breakdown of a structure, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of that structure to give us a second chance at a confirmation to join the decline. So that is what I'm expecting here on the CHF JPY. But since we are going into the New York session today, how do we intend to trade this? So let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame, and let's see how participants in this market has actually been doing on this one. So since the beginning of the week, we had a situation where price has been caught within a consolidation phase right now, right between the 145.800 area and the 146.500 area. We can see price has been caught within a consolidation phase right now, and this is more or less a clue into a possible indecision that is going on in the market right now. So what I want to be doing here is to identify this channel, and let's be using this channel as our yardstick going into the new week. So we have the resistance level of this channel here. I want to give it a purple. So we have the resistance of this channel here, and then we have the support level of this channel around this area. Let us leave it around this area. So we have the support level at the 145.7 700, I guess. Yeah, I think it's 700. So we have the 145.700. That's the support level of this channel. Let's give this a purple. So I'll place it at the bottom right hand side of my screen. So we have the 145.700 level, and this area we have the 146 point is it 146.500? Yeah, 146.500. So let's place it at the top right hand side of my screen, and let's give this a purple too as well. So we have it here. Let me reduce this a little bit. Okay, so we have price consolidate right within the 146.500 area and the 145.700 area. So right now, what is going to be our expectations right now? So what we're going to be waiting for is a signal. We want to be patient here. We want to be looking out for signals, which is likely going to come in the form of a breakout of this channel. This could be a breakout of the channel, which will be likely send price go up into the sell window. And if a breakout retest of that channel happens, I want to be waiting to sell, waiting for price to come within my sell window here to look out for selling opportunities from this point. So that is how I intend to trade it. And if you're a counter trend trader, if a breakout retest of the 146.500 area happens, you might want to be taking advantage of that counter trend right back into the neckline area, which will be giving you at least a minimum of, let's say, 150 to a maximum of about 300 pips. We never can tell how that is going to play out anyways. So that is one scenario I want to be looking forward to. And if a breakdown of this channel happens and a retest of structure, well, at this point, I will be selling. I will be selling at a retest of the 145.700 area. If price does a reversal pattern on lower time frame or multiple rejection of this level, then we want to be selling at this point to the downside here. And remember, we had this bullish trend line on the higher time frame, which lines up at around the 141 area and the 143 area, which will be dovetailing to, let's see how many pips that is. That's around between 300 to about 450 pips here. And if a breakdown of this channel happen, that is the breakdown of the 145.700 area, and the retest of that structure happens and we sell, one thing I want to say here is that we should, as soon as price tests this demand zone at around the 144.500 area, and that is somewhere around here, I want us to move our stop loss to break even to protect our position, as we want to see how price is going to relate with this demand zone. Remember, this demand zone was respected last week where we saw bullish momentum from that area, so we never can tell what is going to be happening if price comes back into the zone. Is there going to be a multiple rejection of that area one more time to send price go back into the sell window we identified earlier, or we could be having a breakdown of that demand zone? And if a breakdown of that demand zone happens, then a retest of structure should welcome an addition to our existing trade. So this is how I intend to trade the CHF JPY this week. So let's prepare ourselves. Let's be on standby to take advantage of that move when it finally happens. So I was able to print out the possible scenario that's likely going to be coming up this week. So let's be ready to take advantage of that move. And if you have any questions so far, feel free to drop in your inquiry in the comment section, and let's see how I can be of help in that regard. 208, your way to reaching very easy understand to us. Okay, that's a compliment. Thank you. So we have 8 more minutes left, and let's quickly look at which pair again. We've taken CHF JPY, we've taken US oil, we've taken US tech, and then we've taken the gold. Can we look at this USD CHF? I have something on the USD CHF and I have something on the USD JPY. I don't know which one you will prefer here. The USD JPY has a similar setup with what we have on the CHF JPY, and I think the JPY pairs are going to be correlating this week. Should we take this USD JPY or should we take the USD CHF? Can anyone make a comment here? If none, let me just do the USD JPY and let's see what our expectations are on the USD JPY for this week. After which, Okay, let's go to the daily time frame here and let's see what is happening. So on the daily time frame, if you look at the USD JPY here on the daily time frame, it's obvious that price action has been on a very strong bullish momentum. As a result of this, I was able to connect the series of higher lows to give us this resultant bullish trend line that I was able to connect here. And you can see how price has consistently respected that level, that trend line, since the beginning of the year. However, something interesting happened in the month of July stroke month of August, as we saw price come back into that bullish trend line, evolving into a reversal pattern, which from a technical standpoint is a very strong reversal pattern. And what happened afterward was a breakout of the neckline at the 135 Japanese yen, which led price right into the 145 Japanese yen area. And one thing that, if we look at this from a technical standpoint, one thing we will notice is that since the breakout of that channel breakout of that neckline at the 135 Japanese yen in August, price is yet to come back to do a retest of that structure. And you know, from a technical standpoint, whenever price break out of a structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of the structure to give us another opportunity to join the rally. But that has not happened in a while now, and in the last 5 to 6 weeks now, that has not happened. But something interesting happened during the first week of this month. We saw that as soon as price got into the 145 Japanese yen area, we witnessed multiple rejection of this level. You can see in the between the 7th and 8th of September, we saw multiple rejection, and again 13th and 14th of this month, we saw another rejection. And during the course of last week trading session, we saw a sharp rejection, which I showed you might probably be as a result of the intervention of the Bank of Japan to help cushion the devaluation of the Japanese yen. So, and you can see that the final rejection of this level led into the breakdown of this neckline, which I will be showing you on a much lower time frame. So let's scale down to the 4 hours time frame and let's look at what's really happening around this area during the course of last week. Now we scale down to the 4 hours time frame here, and what do we have on the 4 hours time frame? Let's zoom in. So on the 4 hours time frame, we had multiple rejection of that supply zone. Can you still hear me? I think I had. Okay. So during the course of last week, during the course of this month, we saw multiple rejection of that supply zone here, giving us a clue into the strength of the sellers at this point in the market. That is one scenario, that's one structure I was able to identify last week. And then the other structure is this bullish trend line, which has been holding price action since the month of August. We can see after connecting the series of higher lows here, we had this bullish trend line. But one thing happened last week. A significant breakdown of that bullish trend line happened, and also a significant breakdown of this neckline at the 142.500 level happened to give us a clue of a possible selling momentum that is likely going to be pushing price back into the bullish trend line we identify on the daily time frame. So this is what I'm seeing from a technical standpoint yet, but we're not sure if price is going to move that way. So what I'm seeing here, since we had the breakdown of this bullish trend line and also the neckline at the 142.500 area, we want to be looking for price to come back and do a retest to structure somewhere around here, after which we look out for patterns on lower time frame to join the decline back into the neckline that was broken in the month of August. So it's likely price comes back into either the neckline here or the bullish trend line with the intention of a trend continuation to the upside. So now that we have the scenario here, what did I do? We scale down to let's see, before we scale down, we need to take into consideration how we got the sell window. Well, I got the sell window by taking into consideration this impulsive move to the downside here. So we had this impulse leg, and whenever we have an impulse leg like that followed by retracement phase, we expect that price might likely the retracement phase might likely end at the golden zone area. So the golden zone area is right within the 50% and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg, which I was able to identify at around the 143.100 area and the 145 Japanese yen area. So we had a sell window here, and I said, fine, if price comes within my sell window here, I want to be looking out for reversal patterns or multiple rejection of this level to join the decline to the downside. And if we look at the structure here where the sell window falls at, we can see that it falls right at the retest of that bullish trend line. We can see the bullish trend line was broken last week. It falls right there, and it also falls within the supply zone, which has been respected since the beginning of this month. So this is more or less a confluence that I need to look into, and let's see how we could trade this. So for me on this one, I will continue to look for selling opportunities if price continues to oscillate right below that sell window, and if at any point in time during this week a breakout of that sell of that supply zone happens, then we might, that is breakout. When I mean breakout, I mean price closes above that supply zone, then this might be a signal of a bullish momentum. But till then, I'm looking forward to setting opportunities here unless price breaks above that supply zone. So let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame and let's see how participant in this market has been relating with to the sell window we identify here. So looking at what has happened here since the beginning of the week, we saw our price initially started at around the 143.200 area. We saw price started here, rejected the 143.650 area before a final breakout of that level happened, and since then price has continued to reject the 143.600 area. So it's looking as if price wants to continue to go to the upside. But if we look at the structure and look at the sell window we identify here, we can see that price is still right around the 618 retracement of this impulse leg at this point, with a 78.6 retracement around this area. So I want to still be tending towards a bearish momentum here, and to make our job easier during the New York session today, let us identify a level that we want to be using to guide our action. So let's bring out our line chart at this point and let's connect previous structure together. So we have somewhere around here at around the 143.700, I guess. Okay, 143.800 area, I think. So we have the 143.800. Let's label this area for the sake of clarity. So we have the 143.800 around this level, and let's see how price is going to relate with this level. So for me now, what I'm saying right now is that if price oscillates right below the 143.800 area, it's more or less a comfortable area to be looking for selling opportunities to open a sell position right below this level, with a take profit target in the meantime somewhere at the support level here. Let's say 140.500, which will be given around 400 pips, 300 pips there about here, and let's see how price will play out at this point. So this is what I'm looking forward to. We are still within the sell window. Let's see how price action plays out here. Like I said, I'm looking forward to reversal patterns within this area to join the decline to the downside on this one. So if you have any question regarding my explanation so far here, feel free to drop it in the comment section. And before I call it a day, let's quickly run through the charts and see what we have done so far today. What are our expectations, and then I call it a day. So we started the week with the US oil, and what was our expectation on the US oil? Well, on the US oil, we already have a trade triggered already on the US oil. Are you already in the trade? Are you in the trade already? Remember, we identified the structure here. We saw the breakdown of the demand zone here last week. We saw price break down the $83 level, which is more or less a very strong bearish signal. As we can see, this level has been a major determinant of buying power through last week, but during the later part of last week, it was finally broken to the downside to give us a clue of a strong bearish momentum. And what I said here is that whenever we cite a breakdown of structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back to do a retest of the structure with the intention of a trend continuation to the downside. And what we noticed after looking at our participants in this market has been relating with this level here. We saw that price started the week at around the $79 level. found a peak at the $80 level this week and finally broke down the $79 area to give us a bearish signal. So because of this setup we had here, we were able to identify a key level at the $79 area. And what we said is, okay, fine, if we have price come back to do a retest of the structure, and in fact we had multiple rejection of this level. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 rejection of that $79 level, and I said, okay, fine, if you had joined this right at the $79 level, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. But if you are not yet in that trade, then we identify somewhere around the $78.20 area to be joining the decline. So we had the scenario here, and if you had joined price, you would have been you have gotten your trade position triggered at this point. So like I said, if price continue to move in our favor, we want to move our stop loss to break even at this point to protect our position against any sudden pullback that could happen. I told you that at a technical standpoint, we expect that price is likely going to come back into the $83 level to send price go to the downside. And I said if price does not break above the $79 level, then we continue to look for selling opportunities here with a take profit target right around this trend line we have here, as we want to see how price is going to relate to this level. If we are going to be having a breakdown of this level, then a retest of structure should give us another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. And if the possibility of a rejection of this level to push price to the upside is also valid, so that's why we're having our take profit target around this area, which will be dovetailing to about 300 pips. Then we moved on to talk about the US tech, and on the US tech we saw our price has been caught within a channel since the beginning of the week. We can see price has been caught since this impulsive move that broke down this demand zone at the 11,750 area. Price moved right into the $11,160 area. Since the beginning of the week, we have seen price consolidate right within this channel, and this is more or less a clue that there is an indecision in this market. And at the same time, remember we identified a demand zone on the higher time frame where we saw this area being a demand zone in the past. So we want to see how price is going to relate to this level, after which we want to be taking our position. And from a technical standpoint, we should be expecting that buyers will gather here again to push price to the upside. That is from a technical standpoint anyway, but from the structure we cite here on the 1 hour time frame, we can see we have a channel. So what we are waiting for right now is a breakout or breakdown of this channel to give us a signal. And if a breakout of this channel happens, that is price breaks above this channel, that is the $11,300 area, if you are a counter trend trader, you want to take advantage of this move as a retest of structure, where we look out for patterns on lower time frame to join the rally into this area. So I said we should have our take profit target right within this 11,620 area and the 11,900 area. And the reason why I said that is simply because remember we have a structure around this area in the past which was broken, and there is a likelihood that price is coming to this level to reject this level to push price to the downside. So that is why I'm having our take profit target right within this area. And if price breaks above that level, then that could be a confirmation that this bullish momentum is strong. Then we want to add more position at a breakout retest of that level. So to sell this one right now, we want to see price come within the sell, this TP target area, form a reversal pattern here, then we want to join the decline to the downside. And if at any point during the New York session today price breaks down this channel, then we want to see this as a trend continuation to the downside. If a breakdown of this channel happens, what I want to look forward to, remember we don't want to get too excited at the sight of such a signal. We want to wait for price action to give us a retest of structure, where we look out for patterns on lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. And remember, we are within a strong demand zone which has been holding price supported in the past. What I will advise is if we cite a breakdown of the structure, retest of the structure, and we join the decline, one thing I'll be telling you here is that as soon as price moves in our favor, kindly move your stop loss to break even. Remember, we are within a very strong demand zone and buyers are very strong at this point. So we want to be moving our stop loss to break even to protect our position against any sudden bullish move that is likely going to be happening from this area. So that is that on the US tech. Then we went on to talk about the gold, that is the XAUUSD. And on the gold, what do we have? Despite the fact that we are on a very strong bearish momentum on the gold, remember we had identified this demand zone that has been holding price action supported throughout the course of last week. which was finally broken during the later part of last week's trading session. Here we said, okay, fine, since we have this bearish signal right now, let's see if price is going to give us a second chance in the form of a retracement phase back into the golden zone area, which we have identified between the $1,656 area and the $1,675 area, and looking out for a reversal pattern around this area to join the decline to the downside. And like I said, if you are a counter trend trader, if price breaks above the $1,645 level, price retests this level, you might want to join the rally to the upside with a take profit target within the sell window. Now, there is a caveat to this perspective I shared here. I said, okay, fine, if price does not continue to the upside, that is, price does not break above the $1,645 area to give us a selling opportunity here, then and price continue to rally to the downside. What I want to see here is that I showed you this level here that has been, this is the lowest point price has gotten to this week. So I want to see a breakdown retest of that structure to be able to join that decline, and that is going to happen if we have an impulsive move that took price right down, breakdown, then we have a retest of structure, then we could actually join the decline with the take profit target sitting at around the 1,610 and $1,600 area. So this is how we intend to trade the XAU USD. Then we went on to close the day. I think, okay, we talked about the CHF JPY as well. And on the CHF JPY, we saw this impulsive move to the downside last week, which broke out the neckline area. And one thing we did was to identify a supply zone as after supply zone at the golden zone area, which is between the 50 and the 78.6%. And I'm actually expecting price to come within this area to look out for selling opportunities to join the decline. And remember, this sell window also lines up with the neckline at the 148 Japanese yen area, which is the neckline of the reversal pattern we identified here. So we had the structure here, we had the multiple rejection of that level, we had a breakdown. We expect price to come back into the neckline area to push price to the downside. And that is the expectation from a technical standpoint, but it's not all the time price moves that way. And in that regard, we wanted to see how participants in this market has been behaving since the beginning of the week, and we can see that there is an indecision in this market right now as price has continued to oscillate between the 146.500 area and the 145.700 area, giving us a clue of an indecision in this market right now. So what I said here is that we want to be patient enough to wait for a signal which is likely going to come in the form of a breakout or breakdown of the structure. So if a breakout of the structure happen and a retest of structure happen, there is a likelihood that price will come back into the sell window here, which where we want to be looking for selling opportunities to join the decline. And if you are a counter trend trader, I said if we cite a breakout retest of the 146.500 area, you might want to be joining this if you feel comfortable, and you move your stop loss accordingly as price move in our direction. Well, for me personally, if price breaks above, I will wait for price to come within the sell window, then I look for selling opportunities to join the decline from that area. However, if price breaks down this channel here, that is the 145.700 area, and a retest of structure happens, then we want to be looking to sell the CHF JPY with a take profit target at either of those bullish trend line we identified on the daily time frame. Let me show you the bullish trend line we identified so you can have a better perspective of what I'm talking about. So we had this bullish trend line identified on the daily time frame. As you can see, we had price has been respecting that bullish trend line. Hold on a second, let me show you. So we had price respect that bullish trend line here. Then we saw the breakout of the supply zone that has been holding price resisted by the sellers, break above. Then we expect a retest of structure, which could likely be around this point or this bullish trend line here, after which we might be looking for a trend continuation to the upside. So we never can tell what that is anyway. But if price breaks below that structure, that channel here, and a retest, we want to sell and then aim at somewhere between the 141 and the 143 area as our take profit target. Then I added that there is a caveat to this. There is a caution here. As soon as price gets into this demand zone that is somewhere around the 144.350 area, we want to be locking our profit or move our stop loss to break even. And the reason why I've advised so is simply because of this structure here. We can see buyers have gathered here before in the past. During the course of last week's trading session, we witnessed a scenario where buyers push price to the upside from here, and let's see how price is going to relate with this level. So in that regard, we move our stop loss to break even. Let's see how price is going to relate with this level. If price breaks down this level and retest it, then we could be adding more position to our existing trade. So that is that on the CHF JPY. Then we went on to close the day with the USD JPY. And on the USD JPY, we have a similar scenario with what we have on the CHF JPY, and it appears that the Japanese pairs is likely going to correlate each other for this week. So we had this impulsive move last week. We had the price move to the downside, breaking through our strong demand zone, our bullish trend line we had here, and the neckline at the 142.500 area. So we had two bearish signals here. We had the breakdown of the bullish trend line. We had the breakdown of the neckline here to give us that bearish signal. And what we said is that, okay, fine, since we had the breakdown of that structure, we want to look forward to a retest, a retracement phase to give us a second chance to join the decline. And in that regard, we were able to identify the golden zone area after running our Fibonacci retracement tool through the impulse leg to identify the area between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg, which falls exactly right within the 143 and the 145 Japanese yen area. And like I said, I want to be looking for selling opportunities right within the sell window here to take advantage of a sell continuation to the downside. And to make our job easier during the New York session today, I was able to identify a key level at the 143.800 area, where I said below that level appears to be most comfortable to be joining the decline to the downside. Anywhere within the sell window area looks more promising to join the decline, but if you're a very conscious person, you might want to wait for price to come below the 143.800 area to look for selling opportunities. And one thing peculiar with the structure here is this. We can see that this sell window here also lines up with the retest of this bullish trend line that was broken here, and we have somewhere around here also, which is likely going to be a retest of structure, and also it lines up with the supply zone which we identified on the daily time frame. So this is how we intend to look at the USD JPY for this week so far. As long as price does not break above the supply zone, a selling opportunity still seems very valid at this point in the market. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to. I hope we are all prepared, and I hope I was able to play out all the possible scenarios that is likely going to be happening on all of the pairs that we treated today. So we were able to do USD JPY, CHF JPY, US oil, US tech, and the gold, that which accumulated to 5 major pairs. So thank you for being around. I really appreciate every moment I spent with you guys. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. And as usual, I will advise, do not get excited when price action gives us a signal. We want to wait for confirmations in form of a retest of structure before we join the decline or rally, whichever case it may be. So on this note, I wish you best of luck during the New York session today, and do have a wonderful day. Bye bye.